Let's talk about response assessment and referral, because I think the thing with self-care with self-harm is that judging whether it's suicidal or self-harm isn't something you want to do. You want to recognize that it is a serious behavioral issue that needs further assessment and intervention. So the mechanisms, first is professional, this is particular to schools, is professional development and awareness about mental health signs and symptoms and risk and protective factors for your faculty and staff, for all of them, not just the teachers, because everyone that has contact with kids should understand and be watching for those things. I think too that most of the models around intervention include educating youth, as I said. Then when a student is identified by a staff to a staff by another student as potentially suicidal, you're going to look at what are they saying about it, what verbalizations are they making about it, do they have, in general, you're going to ask them what are their thoughts, so you're identifying, and I don't think I put a slide on this. What are their ideas about thought? Are they having suicidal ideation? Do they have plans for suicide? What's their plan? Many people think about it, don't have a plan. And if they have a plan, then do they have access to the means for their plan? That's the initial, that's what any mental health person is going to do to assess and determine level of risk. Now, I think that saying they have ideas and not the others, if they have ideas, you want to, as a part of the school, be sure that they're getting connected to outside resources to help with that, right? So you're also looking, in addition to the ideation plan and means, you're looking at risk factors like agitation, intoxication. So the agitation is really, are they emotionally regulated? Can they problem solve? Are they connected, or are they just, so irritable or agitated that you're worried about that? Or are they actively using drugs or intoxicated? Self-harming behavior is a part of that because it goes to their intent. And then you're also looking for student, how did you learn about it? Did the student ask for help? Did you observe something? Did another student report it? What information do you have around that? You should have a clear procedure for reporting when a student appears potentially suicidal. Who do they report it to, and who responds? The general message in mental health agencies is, and this is for people that are trained to intervene with suicide, although many don't have as much training as the specialists in suicidal intervention think they should have. The general intervention is, when I worked in an agency, if someone was suicidal, I never made a decision without consulting with someone else. It's just when there's that much risk, you gather your information, you share it with someone else, share it with someone in authority, if there was a manager in place, or you pull together people that can help you, that are going to see the full picture. I'm not suggesting you pull together your whole faculty, because you do want to look at issues around confidentiality and that kind of thing. But you don't want to protect confidentiality to the end that you aren't pulling people in. So who are key teachers, who's had contact, and you're sharing and kind of gathering information in the full picture in that way. So that's part of what that means. It should include assessment by a mental health professional. If you have someone in the school that can do that, yes. But most often it's going to be referral outside. Sometimes it's directly to the emergency room, or know in your community emergency services. So in Lansing, Community Mental Health has emergency services where you take and connect youth. That's where if, as a social worker, if I was doing therapy, someone came in and was suicidal, that's where I would take them. I wouldn't do all the intervention. It's like you do that love, you know where in your community to go. And it's important to have a sense of the role that hospital emergency rooms play. And the reason I say that is because I think it's changed over the years, and I'm not sure exactly right now what role they play. If I was working with teenagers or adults that were suicidal, I would want to know that, though, because you don't want to send someone where they're going to sit in an emergency room for 8 hours and not get what they need. So it's figuring out what is the mechanism. In every community, there is a community mental health authority that will have someone that will answer your questions. You want to contact students' parents, request permission to collaborate with mental health professionals, share with how important that is. It may be important to some families that you have a clear conversation about confidentiality and who's aware of it, and your obligation to keep a kid safe while also recognizing their right to privacy around issues. And that's a case-by-case assessment, but it's an important consideration to talk about. You probably want to think about how you assist them with access to emergency services or outpatient mental health care. So just saying if you may have to go with them to the emergency room or to emergency services. You may not need to, but you want to assess that. You want to figure out and offer that if you need to. There are times when you need to call an ambulance and handle it that way. That's a part of that assessment of risk in the moment. And involving parents with that is pretty important. Then I think the connection with outpatient mental health care, the last point here is having clearly defined reentry and post-vention procedures. So that resource that I listed for you really gives some strategies for how to be sure that if you have a young person that has attempted suicide or self-harm that you have had concerns about, you've communicated outside of your school or made referrals, asked them to do that. Sometimes you're going to ask them for verifying that they've gotten help before they come back. Getting permission and working with the family to let you be involved so you can talk to the mental health providers. Good mental health care involves good community supports after. So you want to be involved in what's this kid need to be successful and what do they know? And sometimes the kid will help you with that and their family. Sometimes you'll need to talk to the professional that's involved. There's also, in thinking about reentry is important, and postvention speaks about what you do in a school after you've had an incident, both with the child as well as other students. So I want to end today with talking a little bit about that.